Alright, morning. Hello, gang. Welcome, Kylie. Welcome, round of applause. Lucky enough to have Kylie here in a minute. I'll do an intro in a sec. Guys, I just want to thank you. I think as a sales team and as a group, culture's unreal at the moment. We're having a really good life, so thank you for that. It's really important that we work together as a team. And I think we'll talk about lots of different things, but Logan's probably got the hardest job going up against Warhouse Real Estate. They've got 50 to 70% market share. But it's like knowing that as a group, you go, okay, they're an amazing one office business, like absolutely amazing, and I can understand why you got them in here. But can we talk about the group? Can we talk about the 12 offices? Can we talk about the office? All that sort of stuff. And that's the stuff that we want to get better at. Cool. Give me 3 real estate agents that you think are absolutely brilliant. Who's got one?
Great, thanks.
Outside the room.
Michelle Personal. Or are you talking outside?
Australia-wide.
Sarah
Michelle's.
Hackett.
Sarah Hackett? Oh no, tell me about Sarah Hackett. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 that you know to make this exercise easier. Cool. Would we say that Gavin Rubenstein would be very good in a listing presentation? We all know Gavin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Alex Phillips? We all know Alex?
Yeah.
Alex would be really good. And then you want to throw, say, Marnie Senior, or do you want to throw in Adrian Bow in the mix? Let's put 4, because in Sydney they'll get 4. In Sydney they'll get 4. Marnie's there as well, so you've got a very strong female. And then you've got Adrian Bay there as well. 4 really good real estate agents. And you're the vendor. You're the vendor. 4 of them come through your house. Right? 20 years experience roughly between all of them. All sold well over probably 100 properties a year. How would you pick? Connection. They're all pretty good at connection, yeah?
Look at something that's important to you.
Something that's important to you. What else?
Past results.
Experience. Well, they're all fucking good. They've all got plenty of runs on the board. You were down there for a while, Brendan. What would you? How the hell would you make a decision?
You probably just go with the gut, I guess.
Go with your gut. Where do you reckon your gut comes from? Connection's not bad from Johnny. What else?
Hunger.
Sorry?
Hungrier.
Hungrier? They're all pretty hungry. Gavin works at 10 o'clock at night. Adrian Bow's done 20 years of working 7 to 7. We met Marnie, her energy's insane. Trust. How would you pick trust between all of those? They've all been market leaders for a long, long time. Connection, yeah. Cool. They're all really busy. They're all pretty active. You reckon they can be on every second?
No.
Yeah. Maybe one just puts a little bit more. One's maybe on the day, yeah? Got game day on. Put you guys up against them. You're the 5th. Who reckons they can win?
You have to go in thinking that.
I think I can beat them.
Yeah, you have to go in saying I'm as good, if not better than those people.
So I know personally how I think I'd beat them. Who's got an idea how you think you'd beat those guys? They've got more experience than you, they've sold more property than you, they've got a bigger profile than you.
You've got more time than them, so you probably overservice.
Yeah, the vendors are pretty busy in the east, they're not going to give you much time. So you could sell that as a concept.
Like your team.
Pretty sure most of them have got an answer to that because that's what they hit up all the time, yeah? Alex Phillips cops it all the time, he's too busy for open, so I'm pretty sure they've done it.
Your team.
Do you think you'd go about your listing presentation a little bit better if you knew that those... Sorry, I missed that. Your team? Team? Sorry. I was into me thing. I wasn't a very good team player there. I was shit out.
I was going to put her up.
Do you think you guys might change your business model or change your effort around a listing presentation if you knew those 4 people were in your marketplace? Because Michelle Percival, quite honestly, is absolutely she only gets it through relentless. She's a fucking idiot. She doesn't shut up. She does not talk. There's no way Michelle Percival would have any chance of beating those 4 people. Not a fucking chance. And that's your competition. Chris Kosh, nah. Dave Evans, maybe, because he's quite sharp. The rest of them, not even close. Not even close. But why don't we treat our business that serious? What, do we have to wait until a good competitor gets up here and starts taking our market share and then we're going to get good? Or why don't we just choose to be good now? Dan, what'd you get out of that?
Just get good, man.
Good, nice. Adam?
How can you top that?
Well, trying to get better. Point. Point taken. Thank you, Adam. Next, yeah.
Wait, do it now.
All right. I'm telling you, mate. Like, how many people are buying from Sydney up here? Yeah. All right. I mean, even when Kylie talked about yesterday about sharing some of her numbers and things like that, you know why I'm scared of doing any of that? You think I want someone to see that and then see some very clever person from Sydney thinking, wow, this North Coast region's really good, and what I might do is roll up my sleeves and I think I'm better than Dave and have a crack? Bit of a nice little secret we've got up here. We've got the best lifestyle. I'm sorry, but our competition's not that great. Even Moorhope Real Estate got 57% market share. It's only because they've been there forever. They don't do this type of training. I don't see them in the office before 9, do you? 8:30, 9?
No.
You ever see them there after 5:30?
No.
So they don't outwork us. So we're pretty... Best spot to live. In quite an affordable area compared to up and down the coast. What do you reckon a nice home in Newcastle costs these days?
$1 million.
Up. Then you go up further, Byron Bay, what do you think a house costs? So we're in an area where 700 to $1 million buys us an amazing house. We've got the best coastline, best rivers, best this, best that. And we've got shit competition. With all due respect to our competitors.
I'm moving to Port Macquarie.
You're in?
I'm in.
I'll find you a house.
Recruitment pitch done.
Cool. So I think this is where we need to go from our business point of view. We need to not look at our competitors. We need to imagine that those 4 people are in. What drives me about the business and the things that we're doing with Kylie, or why I do all that training, is because I know, because I've been in that competitive market, that they will come and they will get better. You know what I mean? So just give you a little story. When I came up here and started to go Premier and all that sort of stuff, I had to jump on my competition hard, yeah, when I came up here. Guess what Evans Head did when I turned up? First naps, 2 competitors in the town. Double page spread in the paper, and they went Premier straight away before I even got to town. So did I have a jump on my competitors anymore? Guess what? They had a fucking jump on me. You know what I mean? So that competitive advantage will always come back. Yeah? Johnny, what'd you get out of that?
I think, mate, yeah, we've got to sharpen the sword now before it's too late, because, you know, once they turn up, a really good agent could turn up here and dominate if they wanted to.
100%.
Leave the door open, doors open.
Mate, we all work with Corinne, alright? Like, Corinne made really nearly $1 million last year, alright? She's just sold the perception. We've all worked with her. Like, she's not actually that great an agent. She doesn't canvas, she doesn't prospect, she doesn't do all those things. The only thing she's done is con the marketplace that she cares, or she believes in marketing, or she's from Sydney. Like, it's all hype. You know what I mean? She's not a bad negotiator, I'll give her that. But other than that, there's not much substance behind it. But she's done a really good job. How are we doing that as a marketplace? And then I'm going to get Kylie up in a second. It's the 1%ers. The difference between those 4 brilliant agents, whoever did the 1%ers, like you said, the connection of that, the 1%ers that actually made that client feel good. That's how you win. Because you're not going to be able to out-experience them. You're not going to be able to out-brand them. But what 1%ers in that did I make that client feel special? What seeds did I plant in that client's head? That's how you beat it. That's why I always loved going up against Adrian Bowe or any of those guys, because it's a bit like the Premiers, yeah? Everyone plays better against the Premiers. Cool. What'd you get out of that, Brendan?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, as you get better, then competition gets better.
Yeah, they follow, mate. Yeah. Like Port Marketplace has got harder than when I was here 3 years ago, like 100%. Yeah? Everyone stepped up. And guess what? Now, at the moment, what are you doing? Guess what? Michelle's doing 1%, throwing marketing, blah, 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 because there's no stock. But we all know that's going to happen. Yeah? How do we counteract? How do we counteract it? Cool?
These guys don't on disc.
Nate? What'd you get?
We just got to be better. We try and invest more into ourselves, and obviously knowing our marketplace a little bit better.
Cool. why we're just on this before, sorry, I'm taking longer than I thought, but I want, why take 2 minutes? Because this is pretty much the same speech that we have all the time about going to get better. Realistically, in the last 2 weeks, who spent more than 2 hours on their listing presentation? So it's a common theme. So take 2 minutes in your own time. I'm not going to actually ask you for the answer. Write down why we don't. Just take 2 minutes to think. We know we need to get better. Let's have a real, I'm not going to ask anyone for their answer. Take 2 minutes. Why don't we get better? We know we need to get better. What stops us? Are we just lazy? We don't give a shit? We don't treat it like a profession? Shut up, Dave. Talking shit. I'm not asking you for your answer, Lisa.
Susie.
Why don't we? It's because we don't have the energy. It's because we're not exercising. It's because we're not getting out of bed. It's because we're not training.
Are you there all day?
Sorry, girl, I went to boarding school with. Oh, are you over there? Yeah. Oh,
Bring her in. Let's do a Q&A.
you don't want to do one.
2 minutes.
She's a mortgage broker in town.
There we go.
Susie, yeah. Ah, there you go.
So why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? I said and wouldn't ask. Does anyone want to share? Cool, why?
Take the job for granted.
Take the job for granted. Take the job for granted. Anyone else want to share?
Complacency.
Complacency? Yep.
Complacency.
Yeah. Okay, lastly, to finish off, I think one of the biggest things I've learned off Jeff, which I'm still working to get in my own life, I haven't got it 100%, but I think is to get in love with the process. Actually get in love with the process. So you can think, oh, my goal is to get a bit better listing presentation, and you think, oh, like if I could just have a magic pill to have the best listing presentation in the world, I'd take that pill. Like that's sort of how I want to do an Ironman, well, I'll just go and do it. I won't train for it, but that wasn't the skill. It wasn't finishing the Ironman, that was the part. And it's not really even getting a better listing presentation, the magic pill, forget about that. Love the actual process, like enjoy it. Like the reason why I have Kylie and I have Jeff and Josh Vegan and I've met Roz today at 7 o'clock. The reason why I enjoy all this is I actually enjoy the process of building a better business. Forget about the profit. Like that's the excitement thing about, that's the process. Like how can we have a better business? How can we find, like my goal one day is for Kylie to say to people, you need to go up and see this business and see what we're doing. So it's the process. So I challenge you guys, don't just think about how can I get, but actually just enjoy getting better. Enjoy practicing, enjoy the training. Enjoy actually sitting in front of a client. Like how good is it when you sit in front of a client and they're like, yeah, and you just know you got them. Tell me what I need to do, I'll do it, I want you, I trust you, I like you. And you know those clients where you know there's just no one else in the world, like you're the only person? Imagine having more of that. But enjoy that process more than the fact that, oh, this is homework and I've just got to do it, I've got to do an hour a week. Just enjoy the game. Make sense? Cool. Kylie, come on up.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Mightn't clap yet, you might like it. Save it till later.
That was Shut up, David. So, for people that don't know, Kylie, when did you have your first business?
Oh, okay, so a little preamble. I get regional because I had Elders in Tamworth. And I bought that when I was 21. It was going broke. Elders came up, it was a company office. They put the chain and padlock on the front door. And I thought, oh shit, I'm really just getting going. This sucks. So I ran out back, rang Dad and I said, want to buy this office. He's like, well, how much money have you got for cash flow? And I said, $989. And I'm going out on Saturday night, so probably won't look real flush after that. Can I borrow the money from you for stamp duty? Yes, if you pay it back in 90 days. Anyway, rest is history. That was a fun run. And then I went down to Sydney and I was the network performance coach for LJ Hooker. And my most recent gig was Di Jones, general manager running the group and a shareholder and one of the owners of the brand. So Di Jones was a really cool story for me and a really cool learning. So we started with one office, very similar. We had this discussion yesterday, I can just see where you guys are heading. We started with one office in 2014 and 34 people. And last year when I sold out my shareholding, we had 13 offices. We did 38 million in GCI for sales. We sold 898 properties. 94% of those were auction, and we had 4,500 managements and 232 staff, 64 salespeople. So very high performance sales team, a lot of EBUs, incredibly proud, learnt a lot, stuffed up a lot, and but learnt heaps and worked with a really great team. And to Dave's point, yes, it's important, certain things, but culture and people and what you guys are building and creating inside will then bring the listings outside. So based on Dave's intro today, I'm going to duck and weave a little bit from where I was probably going to go, if that's okay, based on what you guys need. So I get regional. You know, sometimes you have trainers come in, they don't get it, regional. I get regional. I was a salesperson for 17 years. And I get metro, and can I tell you, there's no freaking difference. It's like when someone says, auction doesn't work in my area. No, you just don't believe in the process or you don't know how to sell it. So I'm a big believer, it's the same principles, it's just slightly tweaking a few things. Yeah? Greg, how long have you been selling now? 25 years. So I feel a bit sort of humbled doing this with Greg in the room, so I'm probably going to refer to Greg a bit. And there's a lot of you that are high performers. A lot of what I'm going to say today and talk about, you're probably going to go, yeah, know that. It's probably just going back and reflecting on it and are you doing it and doing it to the best of your ability. Super quickly, 3 minutes or less, round the room, just your name, because I only have to hear it once and then I remember it, and how long in the industry.
Alison Shepherd, since 2003.
Just give me years, because I'm better with that. 17.
David, 15. Jeff, 6 months.
Virgin.
Virgin.
Adam, 5 years.
Daniel, 2 years.
John, 12 years.
Andrew. Are you feeling that?
How many good was it?
7 years. Andrew, 7 years. Yeah.
Lisa, 20 years. Freya, 8 months. Katie, 6 years. Crouch, 7 years. Rosie, 11.
Yep, done, Greg.
Logan,
2.
Yeah, Nathan, and 3 years in sales and 7 years in property management.
Oh, you're still here. You're still smiling. Love it.
Oh, Hayley.
Nice to meet you, Hayley. How are you?
32, Kylie. 18 years.
Are you? Yeah, wow.
And how long in real estate?
Trick question.
Lee, a month.
22 years, Dave.
27. Feel like I'm an Alcoholics Anonymous. So guys, I have seen people do really good listing presentations, and I reckon I've sat through probably, thousands, literally. Because when it's like when you bring in new agents and you make them come to your house, and all my cadets used to have to come in, even at Di Jones, knock on my front door, do the whole thing leading up, walk through the house, show me what they say in the house, then do the listing presentation, like the whole kit and caboodle. I've sat through as many good ones as I have shit ones, right? And one thing is fundamental for me, and I want you to write this down. It's the work that you do in the shadows leading up to the listing presentation that will win you the listing presentations in the cold, hard day of light. 50% of their decision will be made before you get to the front door. So even though we're talking about the listing presentation, we're going to go way back, because there's stuff that has to get done before that. The listing presentation, it's like auction, right? How many stages in an auction process? Stage?
Well, I thought there was 3, but I've been told it's 2 now.
I think there's 4. But what I'm saying is with a listing presentation, it's not just the day, is it? What are the parts of the listing presentation or winning the business? What do you reckon they might be? Prospecting, so the pre-auction campaign, the prospecting. What else might there be? So we got listing presentation where we can be called in at any day or any time, or Saturday after an open. So I meet you at an open on Saturday and they like you and you can be called in there. So you've got your prospecting, but drilling down further, and this isn't going to become a prospecting session, but what falls in under prospecting? What are some of the things? Whether it's cold prospecting or nurturing, what do you guys do as agents to nurture or build pipeline? Prospecting for your next sale this year?
We use the price update.
Price updates. Now when you say price updates, what does that actually look like?
That's the Realtair this link that we send out that's got
And what period does that cover?
6 months.
6 months.
Mine, I think.
Does anyone else do price updates to their database, quarterly reports, annual reviews? Yeah? Throw some at me. What periods do you cover?
3 months.
3 months, so the quarterlies. Anyone do an end of financial year in review? Greg does. That's a really valuable one. Can I tell you why? Because every agent gets back from New Year about the 17th or the 22nd of January, and the market is inundated with, would you like an obligation-free appraisal on last year's report and see how your home performed? Go where the noise isn't. So to Greg's point, end of financial year, not a lot of agents think to do an end of financial year, what's happened in that 12-month period. So the end of financial year is great. What about the 12-month anniversary? Do we all do that? Yep. What do you do on that 12-month anniversary? What do you reckon your competition does? Because this is the most utilised in industry because it's a tick and a flick in the back end of the database. So what do you think everyone does, to Dave's point earlier in the day?
Send a calendar magnet and a pen.
So do something different, because I'll tell you what everyone does. They may or merge something out of the database and everyone gets the same goddamn letter. Yeah. So if you're doing something on a 12-month anniversary, spend the time and make your letter a little bit bespoke to your tone of voice and the brand's tone of voice. But always remember this in sales. How many deposits have you made into your client's emotional bank account? If you make 3 deposits into an EBA, then you can ask for the transaction. If you do not make 3 deposits into someone's emotional bank account around their asset, their people, their wealth creation, their health, their education, do not ask for the business because you're likely to get a no. Harvard spent a lot of money on that. So R&D Harvard, really important. So all these things we're talking about on this side is deposits into someone's emotional bank account. You have a really good partnership with finance. What's something to do with finance that you could give people to deposit into their emotional bank account?
Interest rates.
Updates when the RBA meet. What's happening with interest rates? What happened to first home buyers at the federal budget? What was the change? Wow.
Yeah, it extended the grant.
What happened to their super fund contribution? Do you reckon that is valuable information to the consumer looking to buy? I'm telling you, a lot of them do not know what happened to the federal budget. I'm not saying to you send them out the federal budget. What I'm saying is when you're doing your callbacks from your open homes and someone's a first home buyer, would that be a great deposit in their EBA? Yeah. 500% it would be. If you've got mum and dad that are on your database or come, you know, sometimes mum and dad or an trusted advisor in their family come through the open home with them and they're like, mum and dad are just coming, they might be helping us with the deposit, or mum and dad are coming because dad wants to do the pest and building. I'm speaking from experience. Don't trust those bastards, I do it better. That's my dad saying that, right? Would that not be a great EBA to build trust and rapport with mum and dad who've probably got property locally, is to talk to them about, would you like someone in our team, in our finance team or our trusted advisor in the financial advisory space to give you a call to talk to the kids about what they can do with their super? That's a really good EBA. What else might be EBA?
Brand awareness.
Yeah. Sorry?
Like just getting your face out there, so planning them in the back.
Yep. So that's great for prospecting, but emotional bank account stuff, right? So I feel like I've walked around, I'm like, I made a difference.
Well, if you've got their birthdays, maybe something for their birthday.
You could do a birthday card. Do you know what? Stalk them on social media. Like LinkedIn or Facebook or all those. If I went back into sales, I would have a goddamn field day with the whole social media thing, because you can prospect and canvas them in the back end. They don't even know you're doing it, right? So that's another workshop about marketing and what you guys can do to have impact and have a return on investment while you sleep is really important. Emotional bank account in your local area. What else? What I'm trying to do is get to 12. So you've got one a month.
If a property sells on the street, I mean, you've got reason.
500%. Be the first agent to tell them. Bresic Whitney, I can remember when they got going in the eastern suburbs, I used to say to my team, your benchmark is to let your database know or your clients know before Bresic Whitney do. Because they had all these young gun minions and they used to go around to every auction. As soon as the auction hammer had fallen, They were on the phone to our clients, giving them the update. Like they were game on. And that's how Shannon built that business. Guess what's happened now? And Shannon's a mate of mine, and whatever I say in public, I would say to someone's face. They've stopped doing it because they got complacent. So really good opportunity for you guys to be the local agents who are the trusted advisor leading the game in advice. And when you guys go to your new database, oh my God, you're gonna have a field day with what that thing can do working for you. So you're not having to do there's a lot of automation in there. If I said to you today, in your local area, so what are the 3 offices we've got here? Lake Cat-Eye, Port, Kempsey, Crescent Head, Warhope. I want you to get a clean bit of paper for me. Flip over to a clean piece of paper, and I want you to write down the following. How many house sales have been in your core market or your core suburb year to date or the last 12 months? Do not look at anything, just write it down.
So you're saying Port Macquarie?
Your core suburb, yep. How many unit sales? And I don't mind if you do year to date or you do the last 12 months. Even better if you know both, because Ben Collier would and Alex Phillips would. What is the growth in median house price for that period? If you're speaking to an investor, what is the yield? Was the average days on market for the previous 12 months compared to the last 6 months? Because it'd be dramatically different, right, in your area? And the median sales price for houses and units. And one more, because I'm feeling lucky. How many buyers has Elders Lifestyle Property Group met at open homes or private viewings from January to today? Okay, park that for a minute to the side, because those of you that are high performers and high Ds will be driving you mad now that you don't know some of that information and you just want to know it. So I'm going to make you think about that for a minute. The rest of the EBA stuff over here is community, what's going on in your local community, like being that, almost like the tourist information centre for key events that are of interest to that client. Market intel, which we're going to dive deep into in a minute. Health checks or health. You know, like if the, what's an example of that? Like if there's a good speaker coming to town and you guys are running a client night, or there's a health check on finance or something like that, if you build a 12-month marketing campaign around that, or think about when you're communicating with your clients, just have 3 or 4 links in your favourites, in your Outlook. Like you might have, you know, if you're back in property management, you might have Fair Trading for updates there. Reserve Bank, definitely have that as a favourite. Community events, so tourist information centre for your local area. Either throw that into your newsletter or send something out on it. New South Wales State Revenue. So when there's something around housing, or that report that came out the other day from CoreLogic, if you are not on CoreLogic's mailing list or REA's mailing list to get their market updates, you're mad. Because that is the best thing you can do to add EBA to your clients. And they're first class. And REA actually do it for your local market. Vendors do not want another friend. What do they want?
Trusted advisor.
They want someone that's going to get them a result, right? So I used to have a salesperson who used to say to me, oh, I missed the listing, but it was so lovely. Came to the office and they gave me a box of chocolates and flowers. I'm like, well, who for you? Will Phillips is going to get $38,000, but you be happy with your box of chocolates, Forrest Gump. Putting it into perspective is, to Dave's point when he started, you're in a lounge room, you've got people coming in. How do you differentiate yourself between being the RAV4 and the luxury car? And that's what I want you to think about the whole way through today. Who has sold a property in the last 3 years themselves? Tell me about that experience. Did you use Elders in Port? Was it a local? Okay, so tell me about the experience. So if you've sold, and I reckon every agent should have to do this every 5 years just to remember what it's like. And by the way, we are the worst vendors because we're control freaks generally. Tell me about the experience. How did you appoint the agent?
Found them on Rate My Agent.
You found them on Rate My Agent. So where was it?
Queensland. In Warner.
Do you know what the audience is for Rate My Agent with consumers?
1%.
That is an agent portal for ego. Not saying that you did the wrong thing, but you looked on there because you're an agent. Not many consumers look on here. And I don't know their audience numbers now. It used to be horrendous. It might have changed in the last 6 months. Where else might people shop for you if they don't have a relationship with you? I'm coming in from Sydney. I've got a property here. I've never met anyone.
Sold?
Sold? So the profiles and the listings. I flew in yesterday. I stayed in my accommodation. I went for breakfast this morning. Google.
There you go.
Has everyone Googled their name?
Yeah.
I want everyone to get on their phone right now and Google real estate agents and your suburb. You've done this?
We did it on Monday.
Never seen that photo before.
The 3 most searched terms by consumers for real estate in Australasia are the following: real estate agents, suburb; homes for sale, suburb; houses for sale, suburb.
No, leave that on. Okay.
On social media, who has a personal account? Who has a business account? Leave your hand up if you have a business account. Okay, you are your own brand. You are your own proprietary limited, really, under Elders Group, right? If you don't have a business account, get one. Because there is things you can do when you have a social media business account that will elevate your profile and the brand's profile. Every time that Elders Lifestyle Property Group shares something on social that would add to someone's emotional bank account or position you over your competitor, you all should be sharing it from that post to your platform because they're creating it for you. So if something's of value that, let's call it corporate or leadership team or management, share it, right? So even if you don't have the time or the resources or put it into your social media, it helps elevate. And then once you get your own like Facebook business account, you can retarget back into your core market areas. How else would I find you? Signboard's still pretty important. I'm driving between here and the airport.
I'm just going to jump on that. What we're doing community is starting to reach, guys. So just a bit of feedback to let you. We got a management the other day just because of stuff that we're doing in the community. So when you look at any of our competitors, it's just one office with maybe still 3 or 4 agents tops. But there's a good news story and 7. Look at this room. You're all sharing it. It blankets this area, especially the community stuff. Like that self-esteem things that we did on the weekend. It's huge the impact it's got on the community. Heaps of people are coming up to me now and going, we love what you're doing, we love what you're doing, we love what you're doing. So that's only as powerful as what you guys share.
I coach 5 number 1 officers of brands, right? So the number 1 performers in each brand. Not one of them spends what Dave spends on professional development. Every time you have an Adrian Bowe, a Kylie Walsh, a Lee Woodward, whoever in this room, you guys need to be photographing that, putting it on your social and saying, having some sort of tagline as a group around, we want to be the best that we can and provide the best customer experience for the local community. Today we had X, Y, and Z up, learning, boom, 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 and put it back for the customer. So continually, what's the message going to be? If you all post that today on social, what would the message be to the local community? You guys are driving to be world class at what you do in the local community because you know what? Your clients deserve it. Imagine every time you had training, if that message or that one tagline went out consistently, what would be the perception in the marketplace? You guys are world class at what you do and you're taking it seriously and you are coming for everyone. That's the message. People want to deal with people who are successful and have momentum. That's your client as well. No one wants to go, oh, I want to deal with the loser who doesn't seem to have momentum at the moment. And as to Dave's point, is perception is reality, right? So the lady that you mentioned at the beginning of the day, this industry is smoke and mirrors, people. Build the story, don't bullshit it, but build the story, momentum. What people see, they believe, right? It's like my mother who texts me and says, you haven't got any lettuce in the fridge, have you? That's like pre-packaged. Do you know it hasn't? I saw it on Facebook. Does anyone else have a mother that like, they believe the news on Facebook? I'm like, oh, for God's sake. But I'm telling you, consumers believe what they read online. So everything that you push out, still do personal because you'll get great engagement from that.
Look at the floods. Everyone thought Port Macquarie was underwater. Like it was freaking 1% of Port Macquarie that even had water on it. You know what I mean?
Did you guys all share all the cool stuff that went on your individual social platforms about what the brand did during the floods?
Yeah.
What are the 3 most important things when you were talking about community? As a human, your DNA, what are the 3 most important things to you in your life? Family, shelter, and health. I want you to think about those 3 things when you're in here. Oh God, we're gonna have some fun now. Okay, forget that, go back to your numbers. Who wants to share with me? You're in my lounge room. Who wants to articulate to me in your preamble, in your listing presentation, what's happening to the marketplace? Or I meet you at an open home on Saturday. You don't know if I'm a buyer or a vendor, and you just want to have some comfortable dialogue with me. I'm going through a house that you've got at 50 Smith Street. It's on the market for 1.75 million. It's a 4-bedroom. I'm from outer area. Sell me the market and why it's a good investment. Who wants to do it? Okay, you're in my lounge room, same house. You're coming in and you're doing a preamble with me, you're building trust and rapport. How important is it to bring in some of those numbers into the preamble to build your credibility and your trust and for someone to go, shit, I want Dave, he knows his stuff. Who builds some key numbers into their preamble or in their listing presentation so you come across as, because I don't know if you've ever heard Ben Collier do this or Andrew Lutzy from Cunningham's. Whew, they did not wake up speaking like that, can I tell you? It's years and years of practice. But being able to dovetail that into a presentation, what do you think a vendor would, when you walk out the door and you haven't signed it, what do you think happens at that kitchen table? What do you think happens? What would they say?
Well, around the kitchen bench, obviously, husband and wife possibly, and just talking shit. He does know his numbers. He's a candidate at this point in time, and they're having a discussion who's a contender to sell I would imagine.
Okay, husband and wife, let's just use that as a scenario. Husband and wife, you've just, give me your 3 biggest competitors. So you guys have just walked out the door?
First of all, McGrath.
Yep. Okay, so I've been sitting down at the kitchen table, you've done a listing presentation for an hour and a half, you've gone and got in your car, you couldn't sign it, but you've tried, you're respectful, you don't want to be pushy, you've gone. We're married.
Perfect, come in.
Hi. They walk out the door, what do you reckon we might say? I go, oh, I don't like him, I reckon he's like that real estate, bit, I feel like when I shook my hand, it might not come back. What do you think? Did you feel the same or?
Yeah.
Can I tell you what usually happens with the bloke? And this isn't being sexist. The bloke goes, I like him. He'd be a good negotiator. Then the wife says, you know what I heard about him down at the club? I'm telling you, this is what happens. You know what I heard about? He's cheating on his wife. No way is he selling my house. Then the husband says,
Yeah, sure.
It's not about what he's doing outside, Kylie. It is about the result that he will get. And then this conversation goes on for a couple of days. I go and meet coffee, I talk to my girlfriends around it, whatever, I come back. I'm telling you, this is the conversation that's going on home. So do not think for 1 minute that what you do outside the office is not going to affect what happens in the lounge room to start with, right? Or we might have had a case study or a template. We say, oh, they sold Alice's house. Let's ring Alice and see what she's got to say, right? This is the stuff that goes on. Not the fee chat, people. You say, oh, I missed it because of fee. If you missed it because of fee, what did you not demonstrate? Value. In the absence of value, people will decide on fee. Write it down. In the absence of value, people will decide on fee. Now, let's say you're squeaky clean, and we've all got skeletons in our closet, right? But let's say you've got a pretty good profile in the local community, and that's not going to be an issue. In fact, you support community initiatives, and you're the soccer coach and all those sort of things. It's a great profile story, right? Then you come back to this, emotional bank account. What have you done while they've been on their database or as a local homeowner over 1 year, 1 month, 5 years to build momentum or add value back? I can remember getting a listing once and the lady said to me, for 15 years you've been sending me a Christmas card and I've never dealt with you. That's how I got the listing. But for her, she was a lonely person. That was the value that I added to her, right? On that point of Christmas cards, every time you guys sell a property, do you write out a Christmas card and put it in a box and put it under your desk so come December 1st, guess what you do? You just go to the post office. That was the best handy hint anyone ever gave me in sales, because all this electronic bullshit about sending a templated Christmas card that means nothing that everyone else is doing, every time you list and sell a property, hand write your Christmas card, put it in a box and then just go to the post. It's a beautiful feeling, and I used to love walking past my salespeople going, have fun with that, I'm going to the post office. And then what happens to the rest of your team? They get about 35, 45 in and they're like, well, this is fucked, I'm not doing it. Meanwhile, yours is gone and it's in the Christmas card pile. EBA in a listing presentation, this is the best one I've ever heard of. This is so good. Contracts for the kids to keep their room tidy with a reward at the end of the campaign. How good's that? So I actually used to have this sales agent, you'd go in, you'd start talking to the vendors about their property and, you know, going through all the usual stuff. And then he'd say, look, I've got kids. So if you don't have kids, it might be a niece or nephew or whatever. You go, it's really hard to keep the house, and, you know, the wife's stressed out and she's been talking, I don't really want opens and it's stressing me out keeping the house. Tell you what, Hayley, it's something I do with some of my clients, make them feel special. You don't do it with all of them. Because if you do standards all the time, if you do extras all the time, they become a standard, right? I do that with some of my clients. Would you be okay? Always get permission first. Would you be okay if I just spoke to the kids about this? Is something that I usually go through with them. And it might have, I make my bed every day for mum and dad, so we're always inspection ready. We might blah, 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 blah. You've already known from the parents in the preamble before you get to the house where they want to move to. So Tommy, you want to get the house with the pool? Help mum and dad get the house with the pool. Because the more money we get for this house, the bigger that pool can be, Tommy. And then you sit down and you say, look, these are the 3 things I usually do for the kids. I usually give them a $20 voucher at Target, this, that, or that. What one are you okay with, right? Movie voucher, whatever, to the parent. The parent gets so involved in this, right? And they're helping you construct this friggin' contract with their child to sell your house. If you get that signed, I'm telling you, you got the listing, right? You haven't even talked fee or marketing strategy on their property. Now, you need to be very careful how you deliver this, because you don't want to come across as the creepy real estate agent. But if you've done your preamble, you've built the nurturing, do you know what I mean? That is it's a great closer, but it's also a great opener. And the kids love it. Love it. He used to get kids texting him from his parents' phone the morning of the open home, taking photos, saying, David, we're ready to go. We got this for you. And then, you know, he used to get little brooms like this and buy the kids little brooms so they could help sweep. I'm telling you, this shit works. So that's like a really quick overview of prospecting leading into the listing presentation. Okay, game on.
Yes.
Did anyone know their numbers? Did anyone know all of those numbers? Do you reckon Alex Phillips or Ben Collier or Marnie know those numbers? Marnie knows most of those numbers. She doesn't know all of those numbers. But I had breakfast with Marnie about 6 weeks ago and showed Marnie something. And Marnie said, "Cuz, why hasn't anyone ever showed me that before?" Some of you may use this. Does anyone use the Market Trends app from CoreLogic on their phone? You've probably all got the CoreLogic app on your phone, right? Can everyone get it out for me? It's the little one that's, we did this with Hayley and Dave the other day at a retreat. You know the CoreLogic RP Data Pro app?
Yeah.
Have you all got that? Yeah. Yep, okay. What feature do you use in that all the time? The search under address or name? Yep. Go along 3 icons for me and go to the little house with the arrow above it. Has anyone used that before? No.
Price Finder, so will there be a
Price Finder does not have this functionality.
Where was it, sorry?
The market.
See here, the market, little house with the arrow above it? I want you to put in your local area for me. Wish I had this when I was in sales. Okay, this is what you're going to see. This is a 10-year average of your market. On the left-hand side, it's houses. On the right-hand side, it's units. If you put your finger on that line, it will give you real-time data for that period. If you have an iPad, in a listing presentation, this is gold. Because you hand it to your client. I mean, do it on your phone, providing, you know, their eyesight's okay. And when you're talking to them about their local market numbers, they can have a play with it. Because if they feel like they're involved and they're in control of the situation, you'll get a better outcome. If you're at open homes on Saturday, or a phone call comes through to your mobile or reception, and someone's talking to you about selling, that's the first thing you should open. Because it's real-time data and it'll give you great numbers while you're there. Now, someone mentioned about updating their listing presentation earlier in the conversation. Do you guys all have a reoccurrence meeting every quarter to go in and just update your LP? If you don't, do.
Our branding piece.
Pardon?
Our back, like our actual.
No, just your kit that you take in. So you might have your digital stuff, but you know how you always have collateral as an agent that you might need to pull out in case you need to overcome an objection? Does everyone have that? So you've got your digital LP through the system, right? By the way, what's in your digital listing presentation in Realtair? The reason I ask this is because when you go digital, and there's nothing wrong with it because we did it at Di Jones, a lot of the time the agents actually don't want to send it, they just send it out.
It's just an introduction.
Comparable sales, comparable listings.
Yeah.
Do you have a pre-list and an LP, or do you just have? Pardon?
I think some of us do send out a pre-appraisal.
Who, just for my knowledge now, who's doing pre-list? Every time?
Yeah.
So I actually went around the office yesterday, and the great thing about doing stuff like this is finding out. And I know when you go to your new database, it'll all be a bit more streamlined. Some of you didn't know you had a pre-list. That was the feedback I got yesterday. And some of you are like, no, that's not our pre-list, that's our LP. So there are 2 documents. So I'd say see marketing if you don't know. And there is one that is kind of very generic around like company, like as a group. And then there's the one that I got from you guys yesterday where you've personalised it for your team. What I would say, if you don't know what's in it, is print it and read it, because if that's going to your client before you get there, or it's what you talk about when you're there, it probably should talk to each other. And if I'm on the phone with a client rings in, right? So you phoned me for an appraisal today. When I close off that call, how do I pre-frame that they're getting that digitally? If it's before, you're sending it before you go to the house or after you meet them?
While we're there. We don't do digital.
Yeah, we're dropping off a kit or pre-listing kit prior to.
Hard copy?
Yep.
Okay.
Generally speaking.
I want you guys to get into the habit of when an appraisal comes in to ask this question. Greg, thanks so much for reaching out. Okay, this is at the end of the conversation. We're going to do the whole scripts and dialogues on the call in a minute, but always do this at the end of the conversation. Summarise what you've spoken about. Greg, before we come out and see you Friday at 10 o'clock, we just want to send you a little bit of information around what we've been doing in the local market and the success that we've been able to have for our clients. On the day, you've identified that you would like to go through boom, 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 boom. we always find it beneficial to also cover boom, 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 boom. I'm going to send you a calendar invite because I'm respectful of your time, just to pop it away in your diary. Because most.
That's a big point. Who sends calendar invites?
Some of my clients, if they don't.
I think it's really impressive.
And then we're going to go through an agenda in a minute. If there's anything else between now and Friday morning that you and your partner feel is important for you for us to discuss, would you mind please just dropping into the agenda or letting us know so I can be prepared and respectful of your time at the listing appointment, or whatever you guys call it in your language, right? Now, the information that I'm going to send you, and this is the important part. Would you like to receive it in hard copy and I can drop it off prior, or would you like a digital? Ask them the goddamn question, right? Because what is this business all about? Is customer experience. The 4 fundamental pillars of customer experience are this. Accessibility. Giving the client what they want when they want it. Reliability. Because consistency breeds trust. Consistency breeds trust. What do we do as agents? We start a market report, or we start prospecting, or we start Christmas cards, or we start door knocking, and then we stop. The amount of agents that I've seen go door knocking in a street and saying, we're here doing it, like we were up the roads, we thought we'd come down, you know how the dialogue goes. Would you like to go on our quarterly market report? And then you actually get someone that says yes and gives you the information and they send it once. What's the customer experience? Yep. So what are the first 2 pillars of customer experience? And reliability. Speed is the next one. So speed to market, speed to response times, speed in delivery, and execution is the other one.
Kylie, I'm just going to go back. Just that phone call, guys. This is where I think where I reckon we can move it on. 50% of the decision, if you want to call it statistics, are made before you even get there. Generally, when they ring up and they book that appraisal,
Are you sure I'll go for...
or the old, oh, Thursday afternoon between 2 or 4, or Wednesday, or Friday morning suit you better. You know what I mean? And we're gone, we're done. It's the power of the 1%ers in so much of that conversation will put you on the front foot. And you're going to get through dialogue, I noticed that. But what I wanted is the power of the 1%ers or the seed planning. How much seed planning was on that phone call? Tell me what seeds got dropped with what Kylie dialogue just went through. Give me a couple of things that would be in that client's mind.
Well, if you reiterate everything, summarise everything that's been said, they know that you're listening to them and you're understanding what they want to get out of it.
Number one, that's right, listening. And what's next?
The care factor, you've actually asked
So
what they want.
listening, care, yeah. What else?
Reliability in regards to if you get their email, obviously you're going to send out our calendar invite. So
It's professional, yeah.
Plan, so is it structured?
Yep.
And I think also that, you've got to indicate you're a little bit busy, so you've got to have a schedule of time for it too, not just say, I've got nothing on Friday.
Yeah. So see how all the important things that you need to demonstrate as an agent are actually on that phone call. Professionalism, you've listened, you've actually communicated how they want to be communicated to. Like I keep talking about seed planning. It's all happened just on a 30-second phone call. I'm busy, I'm professional, I respect your time, I need you to respect your time, I'm listening to you, I care. But all those done are in 30 seconds. See the power of that 30 seconds? But I know I'm stating the obvious, but I think we miss that. And we sit here in training and we go, oh, that's good. But we don't actually understand the power of what is actually just being spoken about.
You want to talk about Adam McKay from Ray White saying that he's going to double over here. So when I was training Adam as a rookie, I went and bought one of those hourglass timers. You can buy them in different times with the sand in them. And I used to sit them in front of him when he got an appraisal call and I'd turn it over and go, do not hang up the phone until you get to the end of that 5 minutes. Because you watch, to Dave's point, in the office, when you get people come in on the phone, you watch how quick that call goes down. And how does that call go down? What does it usually look like? Ring, ring, boom, boom, boom. What do you ask, Greg? Oh no. And I've picked you because you with the greatest amount of respect, probably do the best qualifier on the phone. What would you ask someone on the phone call if you're going out to see them?
Well, I asked them, so you're thinking of selling?
Yes, we're definitely selling. We're relocating to Brisbane in August.
Okay, and do you have a timeline that you're looking at?
Look, I think it probably just depends on the market. We don't want to miss the boom, so we'll be guided by you, Greg.
Okay, all right, no problem. And is there a best time for you guys, for all of us to catch up?
Look, probably Saturday after sport. I don't know, have you got open homes? What time do you finish opens?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, probably after 2, 3 o'clock.
Yep, that's totally fine. Then normally we look forward to seeing you. Rosie and I will see you at 2:30 on Saturday.
One thing I just noticed from Greg that, that voice, did anyone notice that calm? I want you to notice your voice when you're a sales agent and you get excited about an appraisal. Watch what happens to your dialogue. Inflects at the end. And that sounds like urgency and desperation on the phone. So that really calming is calming me if I'm stressing out. But breathe before you take an appraisal call and it comes through to you if it's from front desk. Breathe, focus, and if you are 5 years and under, the questions that we do today, I want you to have with you at all times. Because after 5 years, you will know how to say this and it will just become boom, 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 boom. Haley, I'm happy to send you through a template I've got on it. It is only for developing agents because it'd be like telling, what Greg's doing. Don't muck around with what's not broken. So there is generally 12 to 15 questions, depending on the client. Have you guys done anything in personality profiling? DISC, Caliper, McQuaid? You have? What have you done? What one of you? DISC. Okay. Does everyone know what their profile is on that spectrum? I want everyone to stand up for me. I'm going to describe a couple of words. And if I describe you, okay, so this is the room. I'm a woman. This is why 78% of architects are men, because we can't visualise things on a floor plan. So I have to draw and I have to face the way I'm going, like in the old days when we used to read the maps. Okay. D's go over here. I's go over here. C's in that back corner and S's, if you know what you are. If you do not know where you are, I'm going to describe some words and that will point where you go. You're an I?
DI.
Oh, you're a DI. You're definitely in the right seat. You won't necessarily be a straight. You'll have underlying, generally in only one, but good salespeople are a DI. Okay, I'm going to describe some words. Highly competitive, driven, interrupt people, short, aggressive.
Keep going.
You know when you say take, aim, fire? They usually just fire first and then think I should have aimed, right? They're the D's in the room. No other D's in the room. No competitive, no like, I just know what I'm doing. These are the people that come in the office and go, "G'day Hayley, how you going?" And Hayley's talking about her weekend, it was fine, they keep going. Right?
I'll go over there.
These are the people that you're halfway through a story and you say, "Oh, hey Dave, how's your weekend with the kids?"
That's great, see ya.
Good.
You start talking, they start telling their story generally over the top of you. They're the D's. It is not their fault, by the way. That is just how they're wired.
Some of you could be I's.
Yeah, I reckon middle for
Okay, these are the I's. Oh my God, we went to training at Ridges this morning. You should have seen the water. It was spectacular. It was glistening off there and we had great coffee. And you know what, when we walked in, we were the champions were on. And then Dolly Parton 9 to 5, I really liked it. These are the people that come in from the weekend, they're around the water cooler and you're like, just be quiet and do your work. These are the people that go to a concert on the weekend and you know what they wore, where they stayed, what music was played, the merchandise that they bought, who went with them and what they put on Facebook. These are the people that are the laughers in the office. If they don't like it, they don't feel involved, they won't go. And the biggest way to upset these people is not having fun. Okay. The C's. These are the conscientious people that just take everybody else's shit until they blow. They are good at attention to detail. They keep calm. You usually don't hear from them much. You come to things like this, they might do an icebreaker and introduce themselves and you go, I didn't know that about that person. These are the calmers in the office. Have we got any of those in that corner? This corner, actually. This is generally admin. This is usually finance. We don't have any in this room.
Well, you thought I was, but I don't think I am.
Okay, this is the...
Put it in a box. I said it.
That's usually, most admin team are usually in that over there. Then we have the S's. You're pretty steady. You're reliable. You'll come in when you're sick at the detriment of your own health for everybody else. If you're going to buy a car, you'll go around on Saturday and you'll look at all the car lots, and then you'll go home and you'll Google it and you'll do your own research, and then you'll probably get on Choice to see what they've got to say about it. You need to make an informed decision on your own time. If anyone was to push you to buy that car on Saturday or close, you would not go back there because they're intimidating you and they were rushing you to make a decision. Okay?
We did this with the team ages ago. Yeah. We did do it.
Is anyone in that corner? The D's, by the way, walked into the car lot, liked the colour, didn't even get in it and bought it. The day you pick up your new car, they're excited about giving you the hour demo and you're like, I don't want a fucking demo, I just want to drive the car off the lot. Don't talk to me about that shit. The eyes are like, can you pair my phone for me because I really like this song and I wanted it. Right? Okay. You are all in the middle.
We started to walk and then you made that comment. We went,
The point to this activity is, do you reckon if I opened up your database today and I tagged all of your clients that we might have a bit of a mixture like this? Okay, I'm not going to go into specifics so you all get cranky with each other, but I want you to look at the people that are at the opposite end of the room, like sometimes opposite, sometimes opposite, sometimes opposite. You often drive the person that's opposite you mad with some of the things that we spoke about. The D's get frustrated with the I's often because of speed and detail. If you guys are sending emails to Dave, do it in bullet point. Or better still, take him for coffee and tell him at coffee. Or better still, tell him while you're walking to coffee because he ain't going to read it. Right? If you have Dave as a vendor and you're an I, or you're over in this corner in a lot of detail, and you're War and Peace sending them an email, I'm telling you, they're not going to read it. You're wasting your time. So I need you guys to think about when we're doing that initial call is picking up what someone's key characteristic is, so then that's how you can communicate with them to try and build rapport quicker. I'm going to give you some dialogue and some handy hints around that now for the call. Would that be helpful? Now, I'm not saying to do this, but at Di Jones, I used to make everyone in property management tag our clients after we met them by personality type in the back end, because I would not put a property manager with a client that was opposite, because we would lose the client. So the high Ds are like, the hot water system's broken. Dave just wants me to come to him with a solution and say, I've got the 3 quotes. What I would recommend as your property manager is you go with this one, even though it's dearer, it's got a better warranty and it's going to come with... Dave says, yes. You guys want to know each quote, the warranty, why, and then you probably want to make the decision, or you want to talk to me about it for half an hour and we'll make the decision together. Would that be a fair assessment? You guys probably won't believe me and you'll probably just go and get your own anyway and you'll come back and you'll tell me what we're going to do. Would that be a fair assessment? Yeah, cool. Sit down. But I really need you to think about this, because great salespeople, and it's great that we saw so many people adjusting from D to I, because that means you've got what it takes to move, right? Great salespeople have the ability to move around all and deliver to all. I just need you guys to think for a minute when you're talking to someone what they are and adjust it. Because particularly, and I'm a D, by the way, in case you hadn't picked it up, my office, when I had elders in Tamworth, did not let me go and do appraisals for people over 60. Why do you reckon that might be? Too fast. And the perception was, Kyles, you come across as if you don't give a shit. So they're like, Kyles, you cannot go. I think you guys need to identify in your office if some of you might be in that space. So taking it back to before you get to the property, and Dave and Hayley heard this a couple of weeks ago, is if you're in an EBU or at reception, I am a big believer in actually saying to the client when the initial call comes in before it's even diverted anywhere, or if you're the secretary that takes the call for whoever your lead agent is, thanks so much for reaching out. We're very, very grateful for people having, you know, whatever your dialogue is. Can I ask how you came about contacting us? You know, we're all taught it in 101 when we start in sales. Who asked that question? Whether it be the receptionist or the agent or the EA. Yeah. What happens with that information? When you say to them, can I ask how you were referred in, how you came to contact us, what happens with that information? You put it in the goddamn database is the first thing you do, and if you don't do it, then you give it to the right person who will do it, because at the end of 12 months, in your new database, you'll be able to pull a report on where your business came from. And how cool would it be at the end of the next year to be able to pull it off and say 33% of my business came from previous sales, 40% came from repeat referrals, and 15% came from signboards or whatever. Would you like to know that when you're making an informed decision about where you should send money to grow your business in the next 12 months? Yeah. There's an old saying with databases, shit in, shit out. Yep. We spend all this time asking these questions, we don't do anything with it. So that's really important. And you can put that into your current one now, but I would just wait till the new one and then put it in there. So you're asking, and then you're thinking. What happens if they say, Hayley and her husband referred you and you did a great job with their property? What would you do with that?
You thank Kylie somehow.
Give Hayley and her husband a call and thank them for the referral.
Yep, and a handwritten card. And it might be something as simple as a scratchy or whatever it is, but always thank them. Always thank them. Then you tag Hayley's card in the database, because at the end of the year, you want to know who your top referrer is. So my top referrers when I was in sales used to get tickets to the Hong Kong Sevens from me every year, and it was Naree and Campbell, because guess what? They used to give me about 17 appraisals a year, and my accountant would give me about 12. So where attention goes and energy flows, what happens?
Get a return on it.
Results happen. Right? So if I said to you today, who are your top 2 referrals in the last 5 years, referrers, would you know? Or would it just be gut? Yeah. And so thanking them every time for that referral. Then, and you've got to be careful how you ask this question, because I've seen it go pear-shaped. If it's written down on someone's desk or reception, it's even better. Can I just ask, Hayley, most people do not mind, but we're all about the customer journey or customer experience at Elders Port Macquarie. We're just wondering, do you have a preference, maybe stroke, a preference for a male or female sales agent to come out and do the appraisal on your property? Now, can I tell you, what was the divorce rate in Australia last year? 67%. Right? How much of your business, awful, how much of your business are divorces? A lot, right? If someone hates a man or hates a woman in that moment they ring your office and you send a female out to see a bloke whose wife's just cheated on them, do you reckon you've got a good chance of closing that deal? No. 500% not. So why would you not ask it in the right way or the right dialogue? The other question it's really important to ask, this is before it gets to you guys, is have they seen any recent marketing material or has there been any success in their local area that's caused them to contact you? The bigger you get, the more shit fights that stops, right? So if I've just done a letterbox drop in Smith Street and someone rings up that letterbox drop, but it's not until they're kind of prompted or asked that that's why they've rung, and then
Asked him a question. Do you remember?
No, I don't even remember.
You said, I understand that you would like to make an offer today, but you'd like to go home and maybe speak to someone else that's more experienced in the property market. And spat the offer at him, like immediately. And then we got home and he's like, oh my God, he got me.
So you have to be careful how you deliver it, but sometimes if you push back a little bit, it's probably 3 or 4 other questions that you might ask.
What prompted you to give us a call?
Yeah, have you auctioned before? The best way to get stock in a short market, guys, is auction, and stop selling them prior. How many of your auctions, how many of the properties that you've sold this year have been auction properties? Would it be half?
No. 25%.
Quite seriously, if you want to get more stock to the market and meet more people to think you're selling, keep it on the market longer.
Selling a lot of product.
Why? If it's a hot market, why are you selling property? Is that the right thing to do by your client? In a hot market, if I had a house and you told me to sell it prior, I would probably say no.
Yeah, there's,
Have you shortened your auction campaigns?
no, but we're finding that there is a gap between the highest and the next. So in that case, they've been putting those ones to bed. When we've got 3 or 4 and there's not a big gap, they're doing a pretty good job of that, I've got to say. They've got to do it. I know, you probably have to talk
Just try and auction more.
Sorry, mate.
Probably have to talk to the other auctioneer.
Try and auction more, guys.
That's
He's not available.
as an agent, that is my view, what Dave's saying. After analysing the people who've gone through it and the interested parties, there is a gap between buyer.
How long are your auction campaigns at the moment? Yeah. So, I'm a big believer in a booming market. You bring your auction campaign down because it reduces the risk of using that first buyer. And if you actually have a look at your numbers, I bet you any money you're meeting the right qualified buyer that buys it within a couple of days. So, like in Sydney, it's usually day 9, day 10, or day 11.
If you're doing VIP, then you're even longer.
Yeah. So looking at shortening your campaign is a strategy, because what happens with auctions? Do you meet more people on site? Do you get more people through? Is it better promotion for you in the company? So why would you not auction more property? It's a really good strategy to increase your share of market and days just a bit more, and you might look at bringing them from 4 weeks to 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever.
I think 3 weeks.
There's a whole press release around that, by the way.
First Saturday open.
It's every buyer's coming through in the first. There's hardly any new buyers coming in. The buyers are in the marketplace.
Yeah, and there's a whole campaign around that. As market leaders, or however you want to position it, we have identified this. Your reports from REA and Domain will tell you how many people are coming from out of area. So say we've got 36% of all buyers to Port Macquarie in the last 12 months coming from our area. We have identified the right thing to do by our client is to shorten the auction campaign in the local market from 28 days to, because it gets the best result for our client. Point of difference?
Yeah, we'll get that done.
Isn't that kind of contradicting itself?
What do you mean?
Keep it on the market for longer.
Who says that an auction campaign has to be 4 weeks?
Yeah, no, but
What is your...
Then you were saying sell it early.
In the first week.
I heard yesterday in the office 2 and 3 days. 2 and 3 days.
You'll actually have more confidence in the auction campaign if we make that decision.
Because you'll be able to say our instructions are not to sell prior to auction. Because yesterday in Port, a lot of people said to me 2 days, 3 days, gone.
And my fear is, as an agent, I mean, and Dave's right, that you're getting the serious interested parties in the first week. If it's going for 3-4 weeks, you're worried about losing that buyer throughout the process.
Yeah.
And then finding another buyer, finding another property. So I think,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should bring them down. I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
That's just like thought for you guys to chat about in a sales meeting later, and let Dave work out what he wants to do with that. But I think the other thing is, so you're qualifying, yep, we're going to come Saturday at 2 o'clock, is I think what we said. Always pre-frame with them how much time they've got. We assume as an agent that they're going to be sweet to give us an hour on Saturday. You need to pre-frame that with them. Dave, when I come out on Saturday afternoon, we go through the property and we have a look, and we sit down and have a chat to you about, our partnership, working together, and how it's going to be mutually beneficial, and what you need from me. Right? It's what you need from me. It's not your frigging agenda. It's what they need from you and what we need to get the best result. I usually find on a 4-bedroom home that we need about an hour to hour and a half. Dave, would that be okay with you and your partner?
Absolutely no way, mate. You've got 15.
How much time have you got, Dave?
15 to half an hour.
Yeah, look, to be honest with you, we need to book a follow-up meeting, if that's okay with you, so I can do the initial walkthrough, do some results, do some research.
Well, let's just do it once in 45, yeah?
Perfect. Now, if we haven't set a time for Saturday, how many times do you guys drop your tool belt just to go and do it whenever the client wants to do it? If I looked at your calendar today, would it be booked out Monday for office, admin, vendor reports and callbacks, and Friday afternoons for get shit organised for Saturday and ring buyers with any new stock to market, and Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, field work? Does anyone have trouble with time management? Raise your hand. Okay, if your diary does not look like that, start there. Because what happens when a client says, oh, look, I can only come Monday at 12. I can only meet you Monday at 12. Like, I do have an appointment at that time. I could come at 6, or I could come Tuesday at whatever. Do either of those times work for you? I'm sorry, I'm fully booked on Monday. Now, by the way, if you're starting and you've got no listings, you go whenever you goddamn can. But if you're starting to get a little bit more established and you want to demonstrate and show them that you're busy, it is great dialogue to have. Like I was talking to Rob Ward about this the other day. Rob and I never, in our sales career, did an appraisal on a Monday. ever. Because what happens if you start the week and your admin and your vendor reports and your callbacks aren't done? What happens to the rest of the week? Turns to shit very quickly, right? So I didn't write the numbers that Rob and Ben Collier wrote because I got out. But I was writing $1.5 million in Tamworth when I sold my business, right? Rob was doing $3.5 million. If we cannot do appraisals on a Monday, and you ask Marnie, you ask Ben Collier, structure and process. This industry is not hard. It's about finding your process and your rhythm and repeating it often. That's it. So this call, I'm going to summarise and send to Hayley afterwards with the 12 or 15 questions that you should ask every time. And you should ask them if they've auctioned before. And how was that experience, Hayley? Someone give me a bad one.
It needs to be a conversation, guys. If you've got the questions in front of you, like especially a D, and you rattle off 5 questions as questions, done. So they're questions, but they're a conversation. Does that make sense?
What happens when I say, so Greg's just the prospective vendor, and he said to me, I would never auction again. It was the worst experience of my life.
We had one yesterday, Rosie and I, which I'm happy to share.
Yep.
Rosie actually got the appointment for us, and then they came into the office. They found us on social media, so they were following us on social media. Anyway, we sat down with them and went through everything, and one of the questions was, there's two strategies we could use. We could do private treaty or by way of auction. Have you ever auctioned before? And what was your answer?
They'd auctioned 2 or 3 times before and they hated it.
Why?
Too stressful.
Too much pressure on them. They didn't like. They felt anxious.
Yeah.
Yep. So how did you handle that?
They trusted us.
They trusted us. They said, we're here with you because you'll tell us what the best strategy is.
Yeah, and I think that's all you got to do, guys. Push back. In my experience, anyone that on the phone, and you need to find out on the phone, because if you don't have that team's experience, you need to be able to put into your toolkit case studies to demonstrate why auction is working better. And you guys need to work out as a team how much more you get for an auction property as opposed to private treaty as a group, no less than quarterly. So you can walk into a listing presentation with your numbers and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, we appreciate that auction's stressful. It's a lot more work for us as well. But our job is to get you the best possible price in an optimum period of time. And if you want me to do that, Hayley, it's going to have to be auction, because in the current market, I'm getting 9 to 10% more for a property selling it through auction than I am by private treaty, because we reach a greater audience. If you don't want to take the extra 9 or 10%, I'm fine to go with private treaty. So are you happy to get 200,000 less? What are they going to say?
Do you have that conversation in the presentation though? Or
you have all of that in the listing presentation. All you find out on the phone is have they auctioned before and what the experience was like, because then you can get ready for it.
So I've had somewhere they're set against it, and I'm like, I'll 100% back you. You sign it, and then you go back and say, hey,
I was just about to say that.
I don't feel comfortable with the market the way it is, this, and this. Once you've signed it, because I feel like if you're pushing auction really, really hard, and then they're feeling, Michelle's going...
Do you think what my dialogue was then, was I pushing it hard? And do you think that conversation yesterday was pushing it hard?
No, I think I know I've sometimes, if they've got their mind made up there on the spot...
500%. But I don't think that conversation was pushing hard. Everything in this industry is around delivery.
Yeah, but you might do that, and then if you get a no, then back off. But
You get 3 no's back off.
I think the other point is, what you're just saying is, let's then not give up on auction. Yeah? Like, then we signed up, and then we go back, because then we've got control. So it's like, you know what, I didn't sleep last night, I need to come back and see you. I know we talked about auction, blah, blah, blah. One of my favourite lines is, like, you still own the property. You've got to understand that, like, you know what I mean? Once they explain, no matter what, no one can take the property away from you.
And that they're still in control.
And remembering the personality thing that we did, right, is how you need to adopt. Because if you're pushing an S&C for that, you won't get called back in. To your point, absolutely right. If you're a D and you deliver that properly, you're probably going to like someone challenging you, but just don't piss them off. Deliver it in the right dialogue. And if it was an I, you probably spend a little bit more time talking them through it. But in this industry, everything is about delivery, right? That whole conversation should take no less than 5 minutes. And I'm going to give you the questions and you can sit it up in front. If you're an experienced agent, just do what you're still doing, right? Like I'm just giving you what works for 80%, and then there'll be 20% go, I can't say that. That's not how I talk. So what I would then do is get those questions and just spend 20 minutes at your desk or over a coffee and change those questions to how you talk, to be on your brand and your voice. But I'm telling you fundamentally, if you hang up that phone and you've had a really good conversation with them, the conversation that's going to be happening at home, David, like, he really knew his stuff. He took the time. He just didn't book the appraisal. You've confirmed with them how long they've got. You've confirmed who's going to be there and what they want on the agenda. And you've summarised it all at the end, because what do high D to a salespeople hear?
Their own voice.
And half the conversation. So that's why it's really important for high D. So I used to say to my EA all the time, tell me what you just heard. You wouldn't say this to a client, I'm just giving you a practical exercise. Tell me what you just heard. And she'd repeat, I go, that's not what I said. Kylie, that's what you said, I wrote it down. Well, what I meant was, right? That is why it's really important for Ds and Is to summarise the conversation, because often the client will pick up on something they don't think you heard. So they might say, but you forgot about the rose garden out the back. Hi. Oh, look, I'm not quite sure about, tells you a lot when you summarise and close it off. It also shows that you're respectful. And then you send the pre-list. You've asked them if they want it electronically or in hard copy, right? When I drop it off to your home, Hayley, would you like me just to leave it in your letterbox drop, in your letterbox, or will I bring it to the front door? I know it sounds weird, but a lot of people are with real estate agents, just leave it in the mailbox. I'll bring it to the front door, I might be home. Because if you take it to the front door, what do? It's another chance to build rapport. Also tells them a lot about it. Okay, we've sent the pre-list, we've rocked it out of the park with the call. The morning of the appraisal, we ring to confirm. Do we? Who texts? Have you asked your client when you finish the call? On the day of when we pop out, Dave, I'll just give you a bell. No, we're all busy. I'll just ring to confirm. Do you want me to text, or how would you? But you've asked, right? And some people might just say, oh, just shoot me a call or an email the night before, or text, but you've asked them. It's like this obsession that real estate agents have got at the moment to set up a bloody a chat or a snap or whatever the friggin' thing is, because it works for your agenda to communicate with your client. Who's got kids here at primary school or high school that do sport? How many friggin' chats have you got with schools, sporting teams? Oh my Godfather, if you listed my house and you put me on another bloody WhatsApp, I'd kill you.
It works for divorce though.
Pardon?
It works in a divorce situation.
But my point is just ask, right? My point is just ask. And communication is a big one when you're in the listing presentation, how they want to be communicated with and time. You get to the door, we've done all that. Pre-list, confirmed, we've asked them. Agenda, you've been amazing on the phone. Out of a 10, where do you reckon you're at in securing the business over someone else that just booked the time, didn't send them a calendar invite or an agenda or go through all of those pre-qualifying questions?
8+.
Yep, right, so you did a good start. You pull up out the front. Where do you pull up?
2 doors down.
Never in the driveway and never out the front of their house. Why?
Because they might not want the neighbours knowing what's going on.
Yep, why else?
I used to follow Adrian around.
500%. If you're a really good agent and a lead agent, people will follow you and they'll go into the house after you. I know it sounds ridiculous. But yeah, I've seen more agents lose listings by pulling up in a driveway, the arrogance that brings. Yep. Okay, how many of you take more than one person to the appraisal? Do you get your client's permission to do that before you go out, or do you pre-frame it?
I'll just say, Rosie and I look forward to seeing you on such and such.
Do they know who Rosie is?
More often than not, no.
So think about it from your client's point of view, right? They've never met you. You do this 12 times a week, right? They might do this twice in their life. The fact that you've got Rosie, sell that in. I work with, and she does, and that's why it's beneficial, she'll come with me on the appraisal. Are you comfortable with that? Because I went to an office not long ago and they were taking 3 agents to an appraisal. Do you reckon that might be overwhelming for a client? Yeah. And if you're an S or a C and you get a very robust agent block up at the front door with maybe an assistant, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that person was coming, and it's one, sometimes it feels overwhelming. So just in a nice way, throw it in, the benefit for them, and just let them know that somebody else will be attending on the day and the benefit to them for that, right? You pulled up your front. See all this stuff we've done and we're not even in the front door yet, people. You get to the front door, what happens? This is old school stuff, but I cannot tell you it's the 1% that makes a difference.
We'll go back 20 minutes.
Yep, you step back. Because no one likes a real estate agent being in their space, right? Hand out whatever you can do with COVID. Do you all still use business cards? Yeah. Always. Business card across at the same time, face up with your name, subliminal message. If you wear a name badge, on the left-hand side, so when you shake hands and you come in and hand the card over, they see that and they see the business card. I'm telling you, this shit works, right? You go in, what do we do? Do we walk through the property with the client? Do we ask them if they want to show us around? There's no right or wrong. I'm just curious as to what you all do.
Sometimes I might see if they want to sit down and have a chat first before, I just see whether they want to go through it first.
I push the walk through.
Yeah, sometimes they're a bit nervous, so ask for a walkthrough and have a bit of a conversation.
Yeah, because you can see if there's 2 toothbrushes in the main bedroom and if his clothes are still hanging up and all that. Like, there's no right or wrong, but these are the things you do and you go, beautiful thing to take 2 people because one often builds rapport with one and the other, and you're walking through the property. Do you all record the features of the property when you're walking through the property on something?
Yeah.
I might and ask the question.
Who said no? Okay, can I tell you what your competition does? They walk through the property like this. Oh, that's a nice, oh yeah. And the dishwasher, oh yeah. And they have the conversation and they do the walkthrough and they record nothing. So make a deal out of it, right? When we go through the property, Mr. Client, we like to make sure that we know the property as much as you do because we've got a saying in real estate, if the property is well listed, it is half sold. And it's really important for me that I know the features of your property almost better than what you do. And whatever your delivery is, right? When you're walking through asking about the warranty, the easements, I did this the other day on a practical exercise with an office and we walked through the block and I said, this block's massive, you have to have an easement. How would that affect development? And do you know what the sales team said to me? The entire sales team, been on the market for 3 months. We don't know. What? You're selling a development site, you cannot tell me if there's an easement on this block? Are you kidding me? What the rates are, if they renovated the kitchen, are the appliances still under? All those sort of things when you're walking through demonstrates product knowledge and that you give a shit. And guess what? When I show people through a house, I'm not one of those agents that just says, help yourself, or there's the bathroom, or there's the master suite. This is the sort of stuff that I tell them when they're going through to reinforce value for your home. So it's really important for me that I get it right. So if there's anything else that you think, let me know when I'm walking through. You still have not done the pitch. Right, you go through, you do all of that, you go to the table, and then you do your pitch. I'm still at a 8 or 9 out of 10 and I have not opened my mouth about strategy, timeline, fee, or what we're going to do for you. So we sit down at the table now. What sort of things do you discuss or what does your agenda look like with your client for the listing presentation? What's the Elders Lifestyle Property Group agenda or the rhythm that we follow in a listing presentation?
I always ask the question what do they want to achieve today?
Because this will be all done on the phone, right? So you're walking in with an agenda, people, and when you sit down, I'm telling you, you're handing that to them, and it's got 1 to 7 or whatever your agenda pieces is, and then you've got lines on the piece of paper for notes and questions. So I walk in and I say, oh, David, just following up from our phone call, this is just what we're going to run through today. If you've got any questions, and you hand them Elders, pen, and then you talk about their property and summarise what you went through and what you've got. So David, you mentioned, and you might revisit the timeline and when they're moving through. David, who have you had through?
Oh, you're asking a question? I've had Lang & Simmons, McGrath, and Lofty.
Now, everything we're talking about today does not have to be in a particular order. And everything that I'm talking about, you don't have to answer because guess what? How Greg pitches for business and how I pitch and how Dave pitches will all be different. And my best salesperson at Di Jones took a pen and just chewed the fat. But guess what? He's been selling for 23 years and he's like golden tonsils. It just rolls off his tongue. It's beautiful. Bernard Ryan. Does anyone know Bernard? He's like the number 4 salesperson in the Ray White network. The reason you've never heard of Bernard is because he's not on social media. He writes about $3 million a year and has done for a very, very long time. Ray White Mossman. Bernard still does his listing presentation like he did when he was a rookie. He's still got the compendium and he still starts with about the company and me and the market, but dovetails in what's important for the client. It's process and it's the same thing every time.
Just on, the most important thing, whichever way, it's got to be a journey. It's got to be a journey. You actually have to have a process to it, to where you're actually going to finish it. That's why when you bring someone in that you haven't worked with before, it's really important that you have some discussion. Because I know when I've done this presentation with some of you, and then you take me off my journey, you've actually got to have a plan of where you're taking the client. Does that make sense?
State of play. This would be my recommended if I was training rookies getting into real estate today or agents that hadn't had a 20 or 30% lift in the last 12 months. This is what I would train. State of play. Where we're at today, you've told me you're moving here. If you've got that referral agent for them for Brisbane, you'd bring it in. Homework, Mr. and Mrs. Client, is I want you to go and have a look at a couple of open homes on Saturday, and I want you to be thinking you're interviewing agents. Because I'm a big believer, you've just told me that you've had Lang & Simmons through. How was that experience, by the way, David?
Yeah, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, tell me about that. What wasn't that you weren't convinced about?
Yeah, well, obviously not seeing the figures that I'm seeing, what properties were.
So they were below your expectations.
Yeah.
What did they come in at?
780.
Yeah, right, okay. Right on an exact number. Amazing the current market agents that do that. I mean, I'd love to have that crystal ball and be able to just give my clients a price.
Yeah.
That's where you start talking about the market, right? And we've seen growth, the median house price, and we sold this place up the road, Mr. and Mrs. Client. You might spend your whole listing presentation on state of play. But your job here is to ask questions and keep asking questions and keep asking questions because they will tell you stuff.
But what happens is, like, I'm sure, like, if someone asks me that question, who else have you had through? I say, oh, look, I'd rather not say.
But that's fine. If you'd rather not say, fine, don't push it. Remember what I said? 80-20 rule. 80% of people will quite happily tell you. 20% won't. What were their strategy? So if you had someone, can I just ask that if you're not happy sharing what agents came through, what was the general consensus around strategy or pricing?
Oh, look, I just like to hear from everyone what they've got to say before we make a decision.
Yeah, have you got any thoughts on that at this stage?
I'm open-minded.
Yeah, do you mind if we walk through then what we could do for you? And then that's where you'd go into your agenda. Don't go there with your agenda and think about your agenda. Go there, build a relationship, build rapport and trust. People will appoint people they like, know and trust. If you've done a good job of getting to know, you've probably built some trust, I would think. Maybe if there's enough time between the appraisal call and when you do the listing presentation, you might send something else to build the EBA. So something out of your little bookmark favourite, something about Reserve Bank. What would be a great EBA if someone was moving locally within Port Macquarie or to another area that you had an office to build trust and show execution? What might you send them from your toolbox if they're looking to buy another home in your market?
Just some stats on that particular area.
Put them on your OFI mail out that goes out. Buy and match them to any other properties that you might have that suit their criteria within their database and maybe send them a brochure. Because if you're going to listing presentation and you tell them that you're going to keep in contact with all the buyers in the local marketplace, you might want to demonstrate that before you get there. So think about what you can do before you get there that they go, actually, they're delivering on that because I got that last week. You go into strategy. What's important to you? We need to be out of here by the 1st of August. Right, so timeline. And do you all know how to sell auction, by the way?
I don't think we do. Oh, I don't. I certainly don't. As well as I think someone in Sydney.
Why do you sell an auction campaign?
If you do a campaign, probably you have an end date in mind already. It's 4 weeks from now. Will that be sold on your way? 42 days later, you're settled in Queensland.
So,
You get a picture for the client.
so you guys need to know what your auction clearance rate is for your office first. What is it for 2021? What is your auction clearance rate for your office? And what is the auction clearance rate for your market?
Up until recently, it's actually always been quite poor.
Okay, well, if you're not going with the auction clearance, if it's good and you want to focus on auctions,
But we've had amazing results. You can focus on some of the results.
so to my point, if you don't have good auction, but you pick 3 or 4 case studies, what have been your best 4 auction success stories this year?
Sold that auction or... Yeah, the one, I sold one at Crescent Head, sold about 300 grand over there.
What are your 4? This is the stuff you guys should be doing in sales meetings because you all need to be seeing out the same hymn book. How many properties have you sold in 2021 as a group?
We're just about to get we're not actually... There's 5 different databases. It's like really a full-time job to get it. But we're getting a scoreboard, which is supposed to be here, which will happen.
Your strength is in your numbers. I don't know anybody else in regional Australia, by the way, besides probably Elders in Darwin, that have got the strength in numbers that you've got. You guys are like the creme brulee with the transactions that you're writing. So there'll be great strength in knowing how many houses you guys have sold in the last 12 months and how many houses you've sold collectively last 6 months. There's strength in numbers. Do people want to give their home to an agency who's a dud?
687 for the year.
Would that be a good number? Now, your average sales price for your group is what? 700 grand? 600? 500? Let's say, hypothetically, conservatively, it's $500,000. And you've done 687. How many $1 million in real estate is that? Work it out, because you're all going to start talking like it in listing presentations from today. Work it out.
345 mil.
Impressive number?
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, our group has sold in excess of $300 million worth of real estate, and we've met 25,000 buyers. We are going to be the agent that gets you the result that you need in the local area. On our database today, we've got 35 qualified buyers in the price bracket of your home. And to your point about auction, would it be okay if I bought them through off-market?
On this, guys, so as a business owner, we've let you down on this. It's really hard with the databases, but that's why come Agent Box, I need you guys to be really good with your numbers, so that we actually have the data to then give you this information. So come August, September, we're different, because, yeah, like Kylie said, the numbers do look good, but it takes at least half an age to trust these numbers.
Could we all agree then after today to at least use...
Use what we've got.
And Hayley might have to find out how many buyers roughly for us. Can we at least agree after today to use over 300 million in real estate, over 680 transactions? By the way, what we used to do at Di Jones was double that number because it's for a vendor and a buyer. In the last 12 months, we have helped over 1,200 families realise their property dreams. Now, if I've just had Leg and Simmons in and he's had 110, does that number sound impressive? So you talk about what's important to them, what are they going to say? The price you get me, the price you charge me, and the time, right? So Mr. and Mrs. Client, the price that I get you will ultimately be determined by? Who determines market value? Do you? So do you guys talk like that in a listing presentation? You guys still have print media here? Like, have you got a local domain? No. Okay, shame. Bring up REA or domain, or better still, your website. And do this as an exercise. Or get them to get out their phone and do this. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I don't determine market value. My job is to come in here today and give you the tools within our organisation to get you the best possible price in an optimum period of time. We are able to do that through experience in these areas. You might have 4 case studies. Do you guys have case study templates? Tell me, if I went and looked in your listing compendium today or what you take into a lounge room, would you have case studies for properties in the price bracket you're pitching for of other people in your organisation or yours?
No.
Okay, Greg has. Who's the number 1 writer in the team? Coincidence? Guys, if you want to get serious about this, to Dave's point at the beginning, get your compendium out. Do not rely on the digital kit, right? You need something. I don't care what it is that you take in, whether it's a zip-up briefcase, it's a folder, whatever it is, and I want you to think about every objection that you can get and I want you to put something in there that will overcome that objection. To my point about do people want to deal with a dud? No, they do not. So put shit in there that is going to demonstrate you're amazing at what you do. And guess what? If you're new into real estate and you don't have those results, use somebody else's. And all your case studies should be generic, not specific to a team or agent, because then you can all breed from each other's success. So you have a conversation with them about Mr. and Mrs. Client, market in the current state of play, or the market as it is at the moment, we are finding is 17% up on last quarter. However, what we are finding is that buyers are starting to get more fussy and there's a big gap between the buyer for the property and the next level down. Do you talk like that? Let them know. Give examples. We had this auction the other day, or we sold this property. We ended up selling it for this, and the gap between there and there was. Do you guys take in the buyers that are qualified sitting in the database in your compendium? You come to an appraisal on my house today, it's 500 to 550. How many buyers are sitting in your database right now that could sign a contract at that price?
At what, 5 to 550?
Yep.
So I wouldn't even do it because everyone's got the database. Like, to me, you're bringing out people that are qualified on your database. So is Simmons.
Your job is to tell me as a consumer, if I go to your car yard and I want to buy a BMW for $60,000 to $65,000 and you don't have one, what does the car agent do? They get on the phone and they find another dealer that's got one. I'm coming you to find a buyer to buy my property. You better tell me how many people you've got on your database that are qualified that could execute a contract right now. Because that'll mean the difference. If there's a shortage in stock to market, that'll mean the difference from getting people off market maybe and getting them in and just whetting the appetite and building the trust and rapport if you can't get them to agency agreement. Really important. If you don't know that, please go and find that out after today. Even if you don't show them the data, it's really important that it just, again, builds trust and credibility. Because like you say, people going, oh, we've got 5,000 people. Bullshit. Anyone's got 5,000 buyers that will execute a contract. We've got 17 buyers that are qualified right now that could go to contract on your property. Would you be interested in me getting them through the property?
And we've done okay now, guys. Once I know we keep talking about agent block. This is where we get this right. This is going to be the gap between us and our competitors. If we don't do it, that means they're not doing it. If we start doing it, these are the 1%ers.
But even without a database, guys, some of the best salespeople I know could tell you who their top 5 or top 7 buyers are right now because it's in their phone, right? So before you walk into that listing presentation, to Dave's point, if I ever see an agent that's not performing, the first thing I do is open up their calendar and I make sure that they've got 30 to 45 minute buffer times between all appointments. Same with leadership teams. If you do not have buffers between your appointments and you are running back to back from one appointment to the other, it is a recipe for disaster. Because you'll be late, or you'll cancel, or you'll push appointments, and that is a shit experience internally for your customer if you're in leadership, or externally for your client. Now, in that buffer time to prepare for a listing presentation, you would find out how many buyers before you go in there. You would find out the state of play for that market, and you would look at that street if you didn't know the market. If you did nothing else, could you go in and do a listing presentation with that? I love this. Now, I know some people yesterday said it's a bit big, but I always believe in impact as well. Is anyone using this? I would be having some of these in the boot of my car. Man, give that to me if I was a sales agent to do a listing presentation all day long. Why? I know if some of you said it was too big, right? I get that for some of you. I'm always perception's reality and believe it's good, and it is different, right? Is it memorable? 500%. You might do the digital listing, but you might take this in to summarise the key points that we're talking about today. And what do you do when you go in with it? Do you sit with it in front and you write all the notes? No way. So we're just going to run through the agenda today. Gosh, your house is beautiful. Thanks so much for taking me through. I'm just going to run through the key things that you said were important to me. Stop me at any time if you've got any questions, but I just brought this along for you and your husband if you just want to summarise the key points and things that are important to you. Now, what that shows is some of the areas, if you walk through it with them, if there's a particular area that's really important to them, or they're challenged by something, or they don't agree with something, that's where most of their notes will be, or they'll circle things, right? So I think that's a great tool that you've got in your office, just like those cardboard boxes for your pre-listing. If someone's tactile, and they want to get it in hard copy, how amazeballs. Okay, so we talked about price. We don't determine price, the market does. You look at strategy. You go to REA or Domain and you say, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you're a buyer. You're sitting at home on Friday night and you go, great, we got to go and look at open homes again tomorrow. What do they do, Hayley? As you as a buyer, how do you work out what you're going to look at on Saturday?
Realestate.com. I hope online.
Yep, it'll either be notifications or it'll be, and then what do they say? Oh yeah, we've been looking like, oh, it's exhausting going every Saturday. Sure is. This is what we do at Lifestyle Property Group to make that easier for our buyers. You can talk about how you set them up in the database so they automatically get new listings, etc. Hayley, you got 1.5 to 1.55 to spend on a pretty smick house in Port Macquarie. Which ones would you go through? And you let them go through and tell you why, right? Then you say, that's exactly how a consumer is going to search. What's important with how we do it is, and that's where you start talking about, strategy of your marketing team. We have a social specialist, we have a graphic design. The reason we have professional photography is so that your listings stand out. It's important for us that we have hero shots, drone, all that stuff that I haven't got time to go through, but you know how to sell marketing, right? At the end of the day, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if we take the price out of the equation, you are going to get more people through your property. Because what you've done, Hayley, is you've eliminated stuff based on your price bracket. And I've just showed you at the beginning of this presentation today how I'm not going to determine market value. I can give you a guide based on what I'm seeing out there in the marketplace, but my job is to negotiate to get you the best possible price in an optimum period of time. And for me to do that, I need to get someone through your property at 1.5 that probably thinks they're going to pay 1.3 or 1.4 and falls in love with your kitchen, so they pay more. And in my experience, Mr. and Mrs. Client, when you've heard this all the time, right? I want Lighthouse Beach, I want 4-bedroom, and I'm going to spend $1 million, and where do they buy? And what do they spend? And what do they spend?
1.4.
So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I think I've demonstrated today why I don't determine market value, but you've got to go in with that dialogue and that prep, guys, and give them those examples that buyers don't buy what they think they're going to buy. So my job is to up the price when people get a motive, get the highest price, but ultimately, Hayley, you will decide what you take for the property. And that's why I think auction is going to get you the best result. Now, push back. We still don't want auction.
Still don't want auction.
So if I could get you more people through and I could get you a better result so you can buy that home that you want in Brisbane, just so I'm hearing this correctly, you don't want to take that strategy.
Oh, the other agent said they could get me the same price as what you're saying at auction, but...
Are they a qualified valuer? Are they prepared to say in writing that if they don't get you that price, they'll adjust their commission?
No, but and you're saying if you go to auction and you get less than the price that you'll...
It's not my call. What I'm saying to you is I want to actually take the price out of the equation. I really want to concentrate on our marketing expertise and my negotiation ability and get you the best price without a ceiling. If I can't get that, please do not sell it. You guys do not determine market value. Do not make it about the price. None of us are that good. Now, if you get another no, back off. 3 no's, back off. Appreciate and respect, it's your asset. I just want to let you know what I'm seeing out in the market. And I've got to be honest with you, if I had a property at the market, on the market at the moment, I would auction it. Because I don't want to wonder what if could have been.
Just out of curiosity, who believes auction is the best? Cool. And what percentage who's over 50% of their listings that don't go to auction? 70? 80?
Your job's to plant the seed. Like Dave said at the beginning, your job's to plant the seed. So if another agent comes in there, they haven't gone through the property and recorded notes, you've already planted a seed about their ability. They don't give a shit about your house. If someone's come in and that they know the price better than the market, then you've planted the seed, right? That's all you're trying to do.
How's it all take off to that? We're at 10:30 downstairs, you finish off.
Okay.
Then we'll see you downstairs.
I'm mindful and respectful of your time, so we'll wrap it up pretty we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
How much is it going to cost? What do you guys walk in with your marketing schedules? I'm $1 million house, Lighthouse Beach. I don't know if that's realistic, by the way, if it's more.
Yep.
What do you walk in and pitch to me as a marketing package? Gold, silver, bronze? What would you pitch to me if I had $1 million house or lighthouse?
Gold. Silver.
What's in it? What, Mr. and Mrs. Client, why are we giving you this campaign? These are our 3 packages. We tend to find that for a home of your price bracket with your attributes that this works best, right?
Best marketing.
You know what I would do before you got to that point? I would say, tell me how you see your home being marketed. We've prepared some things here based on our experience, but we just want to make sure that we're on the same page. I'll run through this in a minute, but could you just share with me how you see your property being marketed? Because often in that conversation, they might say, we want drone, we want video, we want a illuminated sign, whatever, right? You know if they're going to spend more or less. So look, we've actually prepared some campaigns. Might be the friggin' gold. They might have just described the gold, but you're going to go in at silver. Why would you assume that? That's a really important question to ask, because if you get better property marketing, what happens to your profile? To start. So always ask, just so they don't think that you're trying to catch them out, like you'd have it there, right? And say, look, I've got it prepared, but I'm really curious to know, Dave, how do you see your property being marketed?
Imagine asking Dave Gray that question.
Pardon?
Imagine asking Dave Gray that question.
Throw a plane in as well. But I think just, because I'm out of time, I thought I had to another half an hour, but that's fine. What I would be doing the whole way through is just questions. If you are talking more, then the person you're sitting in front of you are not doing your job. And you just need to, every time you get a no or it's a bit, you just need to dive deeper. Really, really important. Summarising and closing off. Now, if you cannot close, like this is a half-day preso, I'm doing an hour and a half. If you're trying to close a listing presentation, what are some of the best techniques that you've got that work for you? Because it'll be different for all of you. Little handy hints that work for you when closing. So you've got to the end, you've said you're in agreement with everything we've got. We seem to be, like, this isn't what you say, I'm doing it in a hurry. We seem to be in agreement, you know, we're on the same page, we look like we could work together, blah, 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 blah. What do you say to close? Because if you don't have a good closer yourself, it's a problem. And I'd love you to stay and just write yourself a close. Because you nail a close. What's yours, Greg?
Based on the information that we've spoken about today, do you feel comfortable in moving forward with Rosie and myself?
So is there any movement on your fee?
At this point in time, what we'd like to do is, yes, there is negotiation with the fee, but what we'd like to do is leave it at that. Let's see how the process goes, and if there's a little bit of a gap between the buyer's price and your line in the sand, then we could certainly look at it.
Having a special condition around that to attach into an annexure, because no one believes what a real estate agent tells them, right? So, well, actually, I have a special condition for key clients where I put into an agreement, I really want this listing, I know I've got a buyer, and I know that we can get a great result for you. I only use this in a handful of occasions, but it's almost like a money back guarantee. The other thing you can say is, Dave, are you going to, like, on the back of that, are you ready to sign today?
Based on those conditions, yes.
Then I'd negotiate. If someone wasn't ready to sign, there's no friggin' way I'd drop my fee.
Yep.
Right? So the question to that always is there any movement on your fee? Are you ready to move forward today, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, well, if you're serious about moving forward, I'm serious about getting a buyer through here, then I'm happy to negotiate, but you have to sign today. So 2 techniques, both right, there's no wrong or right, but you need to have something. Now, you have to have some balls to do this, right? But if you practice it in front of the mirror, like I used to do, when you're walking out of the property, if you can't close it, it's old school, but if you've built good rapport and you genuinely feel like you're the right agent for them, you got to practice it so it doesn't get creepy. Is when you're walking out the door is to hold their hand, look them in the eye for the right period of time and say, whatever your closing line is, but say, can you just give me your commitment that you won't sign with someone until you come back and give me the ability to negotiate? I've never had someone look me in the eye and shake my hand with a closing line that's right, not ring me and say, Kyles, we were just about to sign with Ray White, but we gave you our commitment, the opportunity to negotiate. You've got to get that right, but if you really want, it's a great thing. Still, if someone looks you in the eye and shakes your hand, unless they're a real snake in the grass, they generally deliver on it. But you've got to get it right. The other great thing to do is, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you mentioned that you've got a couple more agents coming in, or you want to take the weekend to decide. I'm really respectful of that. I get that because it's your greatest asset, and I don't take that appointment lightly. What I would like to do is just leave you with a one-page checklist today that when you're going through and you're deciding who to appoint to sell your home, that you consider all of these variables. In my experience and our agency's experience, for a competent agent to get you the best price in an optimum period of time and have you and your family get to where you need to be, an agent needs to be able to demonstrate all these core things. And guess what? It's a questionnaire that you've created. 1 to 15, right? It starts with general things like every agent should know, right? So what they do is they go through, they're sitting down at night and they go, okay, this is easy. They all knew how many houses had sold in our area. They all knew what their auction clearance rate. They all said that they could offer us this, blah, 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 blah. About 0.9 to 15, it gets curly. So some of the stuff that we asked today, what better rate do you get by auctioning a property? Like most agents won't know that off the cuff without doing numbers. How many buyers has the agency got in their database that are willing and able to execute a contract today at our price? Do you see what I'm saying? So some of the questions that you would plant in their head or that you've covered, they're going to go, you know what, Chris Koch didn't touch on that. He doesn't know. He probably does, but it's planting the seed, right? The amount of agents they said to me, you and your friggin' checklist, and they would sit there and they'd interview them sometimes with the checklist in front, asking questions on my letterhead. But it's a really good, and it's a great thing to follow up with afterwards. Thank you very much for your time today. Leanne, I feel really strongly about working with you, and I want you and your husband to make an informed decision. We'd love the listing, but if you don't give it to us, I believe I've given it the best shot. To help you make an informed decision, this might be just a little self-analysis you might use to appoint the right agent on the weekend. They sit there over a wine and beer, your station is looking at them all weekend, it's got the questions. I found that works really well also. The other thing that worked well for me, and again, this is just a personal thing, when you're doing the phone call, you know how sometimes you say to them, can you have the rates notice when I get there? I mean, we can look all this stuff up online now, but again, that old school stuff. Can you have the rates notice when you get there, or if you've got any approved plans? If someone takes the time to go and get that stuff and have it ready for you, or they send it to you, that's another good one as well. I don't know if this floats for you in Port Macquarie, but we're seeing a little bit more in Sydney now, is if you have got the time and you're running low on stock and you're a new entry agent. So let's say you've got 2 or 3 listings, because you ain't busy if you've only got 2 or 3 listings. Start getting your vendors in the car and taking them to other people's open homes and become the agent before they appoint you. Remember the old days when we used to first get in and you would take someone in my two-door Hyundai with my 2-way radio? I would take prospective vendors around to show them what they were competing with. And when you go through and some other agent that's been and done an appraisal on their property sees you with them, what do they think? They've already signed. So if you've got capacity, start taking prospective vendors to look at other property. You'll be the only agent that does it, and what that does with rapport is phenomenal. Phenomenal. That is a whirlwind, like boom, 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 boom. Like there was so much more that we could have done, and I would like to have done a little bit more dialogue with you, but hopefully there might have been 1 or 2 things in there that could help you with your EBA and just spend more time on the phone before you go out to make sure that they like, know and trust you a little bit more. Hopefully you got some stuff out of that. Can I ask a really quick question? Here's the agent in me. I'm 74 days into my new business, right? Can I get a super quick photo with everyone with their hats on, just in here to post on my social? Is that okay? It's like the testimonial after selling a property, right? We can just super quickly, we'll jump in front of the white. Yeah. Oh, look at you. You look like you're right on brand, you little model. Make sure you're front and centre. You're right on brand.
Button undone. No, it's always been undone, mate.
Oh, this looks good too. The navy and the blue and white, front and centre. That's right on brand. Thank you. Shorty, I can go down.
Are you sure you want to go?
Look sexy.
Well, I should have been at the back. Can you fit everyone in?
Squeeze in a bit, guys.
You need to get in too. Get him. Have we got one more?
Oh, that's not, that.
We all shimmying in. Sorry, guys. Everyone knows I'm short, so they'll be like this anyway.
Pull your hat up a little bit, Alex. There we go.
I'm back.
Cheese.
Cheesy.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I don't want to take it off now.
They're good on weekends, right? Hats. You don't have to do your hair all weekend.